Hello everybody and welcome to Friday Night Live from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show as we look ahead to game week 23 of Cloud Fantasy Football. And it's January sales time. Does the transfer window offer openings for transfers? Well, it certainly does for certain clubs. Manchester City are almost certainly making their second big transfer, well, either this week or ready for next week. Mark Gahey looks like he's packing his bags and moving up to the Etihad to join with Antoine Semenyo, who's already there and doing very good things already in a sky blue shirt. So, as said, we're going to look forward to game week 23. Got a couple of new, updates. Partial updates, new players to have a look at. There's some work going on behind the scenes at Cloud. We're going to have a quick look at a little bit of that. Some of the new players, one of which is probably already obsolete, but we'll get to that when we get there. Have a look at the team, see how we got on. Spoiler alert, actually had some captaincy winners last week. We'll have a look at the insight for captaincy for the last fixture that was played, which was Arsenal-Liverpool 2 Thursdays ago. Have a look at the match centres just for the second half of the last game week that we didn't cover already. Look at the leaderboard. Look at the transfer counts. We've got a bit of stuff on fixtures. We've got a question regarding sort of a bit further afield, so we'll have a quick look at that. Have a look at the games for this week. We'll have a look at the Rob T graphics, see who's hopefully keeping clean sheets, hopefully scoring lots of goals, whether there's any opportunities for transfers. Definitely going to have a look at Sunday and Monday. We've had some questions. People have not got players ready to go for Sunday and Monday, especially now, as previously said, Semenyo's moved on. So we'll have a look at that. Have a look at my team. I don't think there's too much going on this week with that, but we'll have a look at the captaincies are. And then we shall let everybody disappear for the weekend and enjoy some Premier League football after what has been quite an exciting FA Cup with some good games. Biggest giant killing of all, with the holders Crystal Palace being toppled by Macclesfield. I did read that Palace had a limited edition kit made just for being first-time champions of the FA Cup. Well, you can't get much more limited than one game, is all I will say. And the EFL Cup semi-final first legs in midweek has given us a bit of a nudge as to what might happen fixture-wise further down the line. City with a 2-0 win, could have been 3. A very dodgy VAR overall. And Arsenal looks to be getting the better of Chelsea on Wednesday, and then Chelsea came back, so Arsenal still favoured to go through. I think it's something 9 years since Chelsea have won at Arsenal, which they'll need to do to qualify. Okay, so without further ado, welcome to everybody in the chat. FPL Spartans, evening John Boy. Dave Hannigan's in, FPL Sparta's in, and Tim Barry's in. Evening all. Right, let's have a look at a couple of things that have been updated in the background. So, we have in testing, ready for hopefully launch later this year and ready to play for the 26-27 cloud season. iOS and Android apps are currently being tested. There's a couple of screenshots there with it's basically what you can see on the website with extra menu buttons at the bottom, probably tab bars. So you can see there, you can see mine reading from the left, we've got the stats. So again, it's the same as what you see on the website, but it's going to be ready on an app. And again, if you turn your phone sideways on the app, it's got the elongated screen as well. So next in line, you've got My Team there, and you see at the top, you've got the 3-bar menu button, which leads to more stuff as well. Match Center, everything sort of comes on one screen, then you sort of scroll up and scroll down to get to the different games. And again, we've got the insight bar. This is what we're going to have a look at in a minute for the captaincies. And we've had some new players added to the game this week, including Mane from Wolves, who is a 6.5 million forward. We have Castellanos, who is also a 6.5 million forward for West Ham. They have two new strikers, Castellanos and Pablo. It seems like Callum Wilson is not going to be playing for West Ham in the future. It's been mooted he might be off to Celtic. I think he'd do a decent job if he does. An old Sky favourite, Pascal Gross, is back in a Brighton shirt. I think he's 32 now. He's reasonably priced in this game. We have a question from CloudFS Loser. Considering new players being added to the game at interesting price points, i.e. Gross and Mane, are there any sub 7 million players that might be of interest to you? And we'll just move on to the last one that I've got listed on the graphic here, which is Elaine from Manchester City, who's a £6.7 million defender. Well, it looks like his place will probably be taken by Mark Gahey by this time next week. So if he was interesting, he might not be. Will Gahey be interesting? I think he's 7.7. He was interested enough at Crystal Palace. Definitely going to get some more passing if he plays at City. Probably more clean sheets. Whether he gets many goal actions, doubtful, but you never know. So in answer to your question, CloudFF Loser, I don't think any of these are on my immediate radar because I have plans in place for up to sort of the end of January. But if anybody that is now coming into the league or changing clubs like Gahey or Semenyo, who is obviously going to be same price as a City asset as he was as Bournemouth, then there's definitely something to look at there. But for now, I think I'll be leaving it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with people who will come to Monday's captaincy with Brighton playing Bournemouth. If you fancy giving Pascal Gross a go and he's in the starting lineup, then I'm not going to be one to say that's a definite no-no. He's a reasonably priced asset. As I say, he's getting on a bit. Whether he's going to be able to do the great stuff he did before at Brighton, we shall see. Okay, so let's have a look at the team. So we have Rufs in goal, 5-pointer. Across the back, Timber with 8. Van Heck, you've got to remember these are for 2 game weeks worth of 2 matches in 1 game week worth of points. So Van Heck was the captain the previous Saturday. I think he had passing bonus and a clean sheet as Brighton beat Burnley 2-0. So he had 23 points. Chalobah, very disappointing. Not getting the passing as he used to. Chelsea aren't as good at the back as they should be, really. And they've got a great set of fixtures coming up. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes with the new manager, Mr. Rosinia. Virgil, he got a clean sheet in the Arsenal game. What did Liverpool do the previous week? I can't remember now. It was 2-2 with Fulham, that's right. Gabriel, he was the captain that I brought in on Thursday last week. He got a passing bonus and a clean sheet against Liverpool. Rice was brought in. Who did I take out? I can't remember. Let's have a look. It was Anderson, yeah. So Rice for Anderson on Thursday last week. Rodgers was brought in for Rice the previous week. So I've basically wasted a transfer there, getting Rodgers and Rice and Enzo, who has been on the chopping block so many times, but is still holding his own in the team. And it doesn't look like he's going anywhere at the minute. And then up front we had Haaland for captain, He scored again. I can't remember the game. It seems like a long while ago. Was it against Chelsea? Then Enzo scored the same. Yeah, I think he scored the same game as the late equaliser. And Ekitike, who was going to be moved until we heard Slot say he looks like he's going to be fit and he could play against Barnsley. He did play against Barnsley and scored and assisted. Looked good. Seemed to be a decent partnership with Wirtz as well. So he is going to be staying around at least for the next two games, which are Saturday games, home to Burnley and away at Bournemouth. So let's have a look. So this was the captaincy for Liverpool against Arsenal. So there's only two teams on Thursday last week for the game. So Saka was 38% captained, Gabriel 33, Rice 13. Everybody else in single figures. Raya, Timber, nobody. Virgil, Saliba only 2%, which surprised me. I thought his ownership would be higher than that, and he's obviously one for passing, but Gabriel was getting at least as many. I did watch the game, and it seemed sometimes you see Saliba do all of the passing, but this time it was very much more controlled. One that is named very highly owned, as we'll see in the percentages later, but Timber, a bit like Shalabar, not really doing much. I know they're cheap, these guys, and you need some cheap players to spread out the funds for everybody else, but they're not doing as much as they did at the start of the season, so it'll be interesting to see. So we'll move on to, this is the match centres. So this is the midweek games of the after New Year fixtures. So when we were last reconvened on Tuesday, the game was West Ham v Forest. So goal scorers were Murillo and goal for West Ham, and then Forest had a Dominguez and a Gibbs-White. Penalty, I think we did actually do this because it was on a Wednesday we had the show, and there was no tier 3s at all. So then the Wednesday games, Bournemouth 3, Tottenham 2. Goal scorers were Evan Nielsen, Creepy Jr. and Semenyo, who signed off for Bournemouth with a last-minute winner. Tottenham goals were Tell and Palhinha. 3 tier points for tier 3s for Truffert, with the tackles for Bournemouth. Romero and Bentancur were the tackles for Tottenham. Next up was Brentford 3, Sunderland 0. Goal scorers Thiago with a brace to follow up his hat-trick at Everton the previous week. Still highly owned, done untold damage to my team. So yeah, Thiago with a brace and then Yarmouk. Tier 3s, just Thiago with 4 shots for a tier 3. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 0. Tier 3s for Canvo and Wharton with the tackles and Lindelof with the passes. Everton 1, Wolves 1. Goal scorers were Keane, and then he was sent off, and Mane for Wolves. Tier 3s, just João Gomez with the tackles for Wolves. Fulham 2, Chelsea 1. Goal scorers were Jimenez and Wilson. Anybody that's been on Wilson is doing great guns. So far ahead of his expected goals and assists. He's cracking in points everywhere. Dirt cheap as well. Goal scorer for Chelsea was Delap. Tier 3s, Anderson with the passes and Wilson with the shots. And that was your lot. Man City 1, Brighton 1. Man City 1, Brighton 1. Haaland with a penalty, Mitoma with the equaliser. Tier 3's Lane with the passes and Haaland with the shots. Burnley 2, Manchester United 2. Own goal for Burnley from Heaven, and then Anthony for Manchester United, Sesko with a brace. Tier 3's Dubravka with the saves and Lauren with the tackles for Burnley. Sesko 7 shots for a Tier 3 for Manchester United. Newcastle 4, Leeds 3. Cracking game this. I saw the second half, which seemed to drag on for, well, best part of an hour. It was great. Obviously a lot to do with Cher's injury, but we wish him well. He's going to be out for 3 months, but the game itself was fantastic. Match centre's too quick for me to keep up with it. I'll give it a couple of minutes, see if it comes back on. Sometimes the same issue last week. Here we go. Sorry, peeps. So yeah, Newcastle 4, Leeds 3. So Harvey Barnes with a brace, including the cracking last-minute winner. Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes with a penalty. Bruno Guimaraes, what a player he has been in this game. What did he get this week? 14 points there. He didn't get any Tier 3s, but 3 Tier 1s, so it's near enough. An assist and a goal. Of the Tier 3, for Leeds, brace for Aronson and Calvert-Lewin, another one who's been going great guns, and he's going to be very popular when we get to the 2, if not back-to-back, certainly back-to-back with a gap in the middle, single game days. Tier 3s, Miley with the tackles, Barnes with the shots, and Aronson with the shots. And then the Thursday game, standalone, was Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0. So Gabriel Saliba with the passes and Zubamendi with the tackles. And then for Liverpool was Van Dijk with the passes. And we'll have a look at the leaderboard. So in 10th place is Ryan Welsh with his Arts and Crafts, 1722. Melvin Poole in 9th with Malvino 11, 1727. Thomas Lavelle, Blue Sky Thinking, 1730. Tim Barry, who's in the chat, 7th, 1745. Tony Davies, FT Lauderdale Strikers, 1753. Joint 5th with Johnny Curry. Anybody who wants a bit more on fixtures, the Solio guys, JC was on his own this week doing his which fixtures might go when and where. It's more for FPL really. We'll do ours because it's a bit more complex with the daily captaincies, and we do need to know. I mean, we can have a guess a bit nearer the time, but we don't need to be so worried this far ahead. But yeah, if you like that, and also James Linden, Planet FPL, he did a very good job of explaining where fixtures might go as well. So yeah, either of those two guys, if you want a bit more fixture-wise. As I say, we'll do ours probably a little bit week by week, and as we get more and more information, I should be able to point you in the right direction. In 4th is Dennis O'Sullivan with Da-La-Di-Da, 1754. It's all very congested. Alex, who was the leader on Christmas Day with Fortuna Muckledorf on 1756 in 3rd. Walter Good with Wally Mandius Giants 1760 in 2nd, who is 1 point behind Aaron Smith's Bunnet with 1761. Well done, Aaron. So let's go back and have a look at some more information. 2 ticks, peeps. Okay, so average transfers remaining, big drops here. I mean, obviously it's in between a double game week or 2 sets of fixtures in a game week, so you're going to get some drops. But overall, down 1.29 to 34.47. Top 100 down 1.23 to 26.33. Top 50 down 0.64 to 27 exactly. And top 100 down 3.4 to 22 exactly. So those that are hanging around with close to the overall numbers that are in the top 100, top 50 and top 10, I think there's a fair chance you're going to be gaining on everybody else. So this is a reproduction of last week's slide, the fixtures as far as we can see for now. A couple of changes. So the Premier League have finally realised that Crystal Palace are going to be playing in the playoffs for the Conference League. Something that we've known about since, well, a week before Christmas, I think, if not a bit longer than that. So their fixtures have now been shifted at the end of February from Saturdays to Sunday. And they are the games, I think it's against Wolves. Palace against Wolves was one. Yep, so that's on now Sunday, February the 22nd. So that's going to be 3 fixtures on that day at least, but 3 for now. And then their game at Manchester United has been moved from Saturday the 28th of Feb until Sunday, March the 1st. I do quite look at that Palace game on 21st of Feb against Wolves. Entry point on Wednesday the 11th if you come in off somebody that's played on Tuesday the 10th. And there's also entry point on Sunday the 8th for anybody that's coming off that's played on Saturday the 7th. So yeah, Munoz apparently back, so I think he's going to be on the radar. Other options will be back. Sarr's going to be back from AFCON, and of course still Mateta if you needed a replacement up front. And the bit I've still got circled there, well, oblonged, call it whatever you will, is where we think that Wolves v Arsenal is going to be dropped in as a additional fixture, and we'll see where that's come from on the next slide. And I have a feeling that might be, I'm trying to think which weeks they were. I think it's going to be Thursday, February the 19th. So Arsenal, if it works out that they reach the EFL Cup final and the fixtures brought forward, they'll play Saturday against Sunderland on the 7th. Then they'll play Thursday against Brentford on the 12th. They'll have an FA Cup game sometime over the following weekend, and then they'll play midweek, probably the Thursday against Wolves on the 19th. Then they'll play Sunday again. So there's going to be an extra fixture, we think, and Wolves will get another one as well. I doubt we'll be going for Wolves players, but you will get sort of Wednesday, then the following midweek when nobody's playing, but then their game is again on the Sunday, so there's no real fixture gain for Wolves. There's not too much for fixture gain for Arsenal in all fairness, but there will be at least some. They'll get the additional, so whichever players you've got, there's not really a hop on point. You can go against Brentford when everybody else is finished, so you'll get the Brentford game, you'll get the Wolves game. So it's a 2 for none on Arsenal players, and then you're going to wait till the Sunday for the Tottenham game, and then Sunday again for the Chelsea game. So there's going to be additional gains, and you'll probably want to keep them, but once we know the fixture, we'll let you know more about it. Then we had a question from Dan, and he was looking a little bit further away as to where the additional fixture gains might be found. Now, again, oblonged here, we have our game week 32, which is Saturday, March the 21st, just before the long international break. That is the EFL Cup final day, so fixtures are going to be brought forward or sent back. If it's Arsenal v Wolves, we think it's coming forward. Everybody else is going back because either Palace, who are playing Manchester City that week, are guaranteed to be in the playoffs for the European rounds, and there's a fair chance that Chelsea, Newcastle and Manchester City might be in the playoff rounds themselves. So 2 fixtures for that week are going to be moved, forwards or backwards. Now, if it is Arsenal coming forward, as discussed, we'll get a 2 for 0, and you'll be able to cash in some extra players. I mean, those that got extra transfers left, you might want to go a whole hog and a whole back line of Arsenal. The advantage there you'll have is that the FA Cup's in the middle of those games, so if there's any rest and rotation, they'll be able to do it then. And Arsenal have been drawn against Wigan at home, so you think that they don't need to go full strength. And then the other one I've got circled there, just before we backtrack on the next one. So if it's Manchester City v Palace, or Chelsea v Everton, or Newcastle v Sunderland, then those games are going to have to be shifted back. And the next free midweek that we have available with no games in the way is Cloud Game Week 36, so after Saturday, April 18th. So you could end up with an extra set of fixtures in there. I'll be surprised if there isn't at least one. And then just after that is the Cloud Game Week 37, when we are looking at the same weekend as the FA Cup semi-finals, and whoever reaches the FA Cup semi-final or their opponents in a league game is going to have that match rescheduled. The likelihood is it's going to move forward or back a week, because that's when the 3 weeks are. You also have an extra week that's available at the end of, sort of mid-May, prior to the FA Cup final or post the FA Cup final. Those 2 midweeks are free. So again, depending on who's reaching the FA Cup final, last year the 2 finalists played on the Tuesday after the FA Cup final with their rearranged league games, because it didn't really matter so much. Crystal Palace was still drunk, I think, when they were playing, and I think it was only Manchester City that they might have needed a point to qualify for the Champions League, whichever that they got anyway. So if teams are playing in the FA Cup final, the chances are the game will be moved back. The only time that probably won't happen is if it's somebody that's in the Europa League final, which it can't be Nottingham Forest now because they're out of the FA Cup, but it could be Aston Villa. So Aston Villa v Liverpool, which is due to be played the weekend of Sunday, May the 18th. If Aston Villa are in the Europa Cup final and either Liverpool or Aston Villa are in the FA Cup final, then that game will be brought forward instead of being sent back. Plenty of water to go under the bridge before we get there, but it's a little bit. Hopefully that helps, Dan. Like I say, we're about best part of 2 months before that gets here, and we'll I mean, you know me, you know the way that I like to do these fixtures. We will have it all ready for you, probably in advance, but we can't look that far in advance from here. Okay, so let's get back to ticks. All right, evening, Melvin. I see you've finally made it onto your first ever live performance. Welcome along. Good to see you. So these are from Solio. This is Rob T, FPL. JC's on there. Very, very, very good channel, Solio. So these are their projections for this week. So we're looking for the darker blues for goals and the darker oranges for clean sheets. So early kickoff this week is Man United against Man City, the derby. It's on Sky, not TNT. Obviously, the Manchester police didn't have it late, so that's why they've swapped the television slots. So goals, 1.43 for Manchester United, 1.9 for Manchester City. Both under 25% for a clean sheet. Does leave the captaincy open. Is it everybody going to go for Haaland? I mean, if Manchester City do score 1.9 goals or 2 goals, he's going to get one, you would think. Having said that, he played against Exeter. They scored 10 and he didn't get anything. So it does make you wonder. And then there's, what have we got there? 5 games at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So Chelsea, Brentford. Chelsea are down for 1.9 win and 32% chance for clean sheet. Wouldn't surprise me, having seen them on Wednesday, if Thiago doesn't score again for Brentford, to be honest. Palmer looks like he's fit. Chelsea are embarking on a good run, as we saw on the fixtures. They play Palace next week after Brentford at home. They visit Palace. Then they've got 4 good home games. I think it's West Ham, Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves away, I think, are their fixtures. Then Liverpool, they're the highest scorers, or predicted scorers this week, at 2.5. Highest clean sheet at 47%. Burnley, 0.75 and 8%. So I think Liverpool assets to the 4. Virgil might have a good game. Frimpong, if he's playing right wing, could be good. You would like to think Ekitike will be. He's the poster boy on, what's that, Wirtz? Could be Wirtz, actually. Poster boy on the picture. I think I'm going to captain Ekitike on Saturday. Later on Saturday, Sunderland 1.17, Palace 1.16. Bit of turmoil going on at Palace. It seems Glasner said that he's done at the end of the season. We all knew his contract was up. Maybe he's being lined up for the hot seat, or the extremely hot seat at Manchester United. Both on 31% of clean sheet. Leeds v Fulham. Leeds 1.36, Fulham 1.12. Leeds 33%, Fulham 26%. Tottenham 1.79. Not sure who's going to bang those goals in. It seems Richarlison's out for best part of 2 months now. They're on 34% of the clean sheet. It probably says more about West Ham than it does about Tottenham. West Ham 1.07 and 17%. Team time kickoff. So this is on TNT. They've got Forest. Oh dear me. Mr. Fletcher's club. Oh, I'm glad I'm out. I won't be watching that. Forest 0.86 and 17%. Arsenal 1.8 and 42%. So I think there could be a clean sheet there for Arsenal. And then Sunday, early games, Wolves v Newcastle. Wolves 1.14 and Newcastle 1.87. Wolves 15 and Newcastle 32%. And then Villa against Everton. Villa 1.72 and 39%. Everton 0.93 and 18%. And then we have Monday night football before the Champions League and the Europa League and the Conference League. No, just the Champions League and the Europa League kick back in midweek. Brighton 1.94, 26%, and Bournemouth 1.35 and 14%. Looks like an attractive game there on Monday. Okay, let's have a look at the data and see where we are. No surprise, Erling Haaland still way top of the shop, 194 points now. Next best in is Thiago, 146, and then Semenyo and Ruben Diaz, 130, 129. And the top 25 all over 100 points. So Munoz there at 101. I say back next week, we think. Look at the quick look at the points per 90, see who's poking their noses over. So Haaland's still well at the top. Thiago's still very much so as well, 7.49. Couple there over 7s. We're looking at Matheus Nunes, 7.02. Gabriel, 7.82. Obviously back from injury now. And then Munoz, the aforementioned, 7.22. So those guys are going to be to the fore if they're back and firing. Tier points, Van Heck and Anderson. Doesn't change much really, does it? They're still at the top there. Then Enzo and Rice, again, they seem to be fairly high. Haaland, again, another one been up there. And Matheus Nunes, there's a mixture there, isn't there? What's that? It's mainly passes and tackles, the odd shot. Chalobah, he's still up there, but it's tailing off. I'll have a look at the ownerships. So Haaland, 98%. Timber and Thiago nudging either side of 70. Chalobah, 62. High 50s, Gabriel, Saka, Rodgers. Raya, the highest keeper, at 47. Mateus at 40. And then the rest sort of dropping down. I think it looks like Van Heck's going to be the highest captain on Monday. And maybe Rodgers on Sunday, looking at the percentages there. Although Bruno G's knocking on the door, isn't he? 31. And this is how it relates to their points. So those that are picking up points over ownership, Bruno G, well clear of his 31. Riffs, pretty clear of his 25. And Semenyo, pretty clear of his 24. Be interesting to know how he goes now, Semenyo. Definitely going to be playing the next 3 league games, you would think, as he can't play in Europe yet. But I very much expect he's going to be added to the European 25-man squad. I think they're allowed when it comes to the playoffs or the last 16, whichever City qualify for. I'll be surprised if they don't qualify for either. Then we'll have a look at the charts for how these points are getting across. So Tosin and Dunk are the 2 that are in green on per minute. If Tosin ends up getting a place in the Chelsea lineup, maybe he's one to have a look at. I think he was 7.1, very cheap. Dunk there at 76. And we have, 5 in the orange? Curtis Jones, Saliba, Virgil van Dijk, Ruben Diaz, and Nico Gonzalez. Move it across. So shots. Haaland, the only one that's in the orange. Plenty there now in the yellow. Tackles. Palhinha in the green at 5.1. Ugarte, Ibrahim, Florentino and Magassar in the orange. And then saves. Only Areola in the orange. And then we have half a dozen or so in the yellow, most of which are not playing anymore. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the team. Let's move that back. So that was for next week. So this week, as suggested, Ekitike is captain. Oh, just before we move, I've added on here, so start date for the fixture counts that you can see of the teams. Everybody see us on 7, and that's currently set between this weekend, so tomorrow, 17th of March, and 17th of Jan and the 2nd of March. There is no real fixture gains for anybody. If you do get a 2-for-1, it's going to come back the other way. The only one I think we're going to be looking at fixture game-wise, and we'll speak more about it next week, is Leeds, because they have the 2 singles, one on a Monday, followed by a weekend, and then followed by one on a Friday. So that could be a way to restructure your team with a virtual 5-for-1 over any other player, really, as long as you haven't got 3 strikers and you want to keep all 3 of them. So yeah, Ekitike I think is going to be captain on Saturday. Sunday, so we had a question on Sunday. If you haven't got a captain, who's the best player to bring in? And would you look in terms of both point scoring for Sunday and upcoming fixture difficulty? So let's have a look at the fixture difficulty. So the teams we've got are Wolves, Newcastle, Villa and Everton. So Villa play Everton, Newcastle, Brentford, Bournemouth. Newcastle play Wolves, Villa, Liverpool, Brentford. Wolves play Newcastle, Manchester City, Bournemouth and Chelsea, so it looks quite a lot worse, and we know they're a worse team. And Everton play Villa, Leeds, Admittedly, that's a single game day, Brighton and Fulham. So fixture difficulty wise, I think Newcastle and Villa are very similar. They do play each other next week, and they play at Newcastle. Whether you think that's going to be an advantage for a Newcastle player or not, I'm not so sure. But I think if we go back to have a look, the two players that I would be looking to bring in would either be Rodgers, who's 8.7 and obviously plays for Villa, or probably Bruno G. I think he's 9.6 and plays for Newcastle. I think the Villa striker is good. It's Watkins. It looks like Marlon's gone, but whether they're going to bring somebody else for a bit of competition. But it's also very expensive in the game at 11.5. And the Newcastle strikers are cheaper priced. Visser and Voltemade are certainly cheaper, but we're not quite sure which one's going to play moving forward. You'll obviously see which one plays against Newcastle. Plays for Newcastle against Wolves, but it's not just it's not a one-game move. I don't think anybody that's bringing in for Sunday. So I think longer term, I'd probably look at Rodgers. He's cheaper than Bruno, and he can hold down one of those midfield slots at 8.7. And as has been suggested on other shows, Villa don't play a top side. They've already played Arsenal twice, and they play with Manchester City and Liverpool the last two games of the season. So that's where I will be looking, and I have him already. That's one of the reasons why he was brought in. And then for Monday, so a question for those that had Semenyo, who quite unfortunate really that he's moving on and he can't take that place for Bournemouth. If you don't have anybody and you don't really think you need anybody, I'm not averse to having a skip. The one that I have is probably him or Dunk, the better bet. A, because they're a defender who can get clean sheet points, but both of them are probably pretty close to tier points most weeks, which at the value they are is always something to have handy. But as we did see earlier in the show, that is Pascal Gross is back. I think he's 6.9. So if you want to have a punt on him, I'm not averse to it. What have we got coming up fixture-wise for Brighton? So Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton, Palace, Aston Villa, Brentford. So that's not a bad six, really. Finishes on a Saturday, you can move off somewhere else. Even from Saturday against Everton, so that's like 2 home games and away to Fulham. Yeah, there's a move off there. So someone like Welbeck maybe if he's playing. So playing Monday, Saturday, and then you can move off elsewhere. Or you could keep the Palace game. Then I think, then Villa. And then it's the FA Cup after that. Then you keep for Brentford. So, there's options there. And for Bournemouth, they visit Brighton, then home to Liverpool, away to Wolves, Villa, Everton. And West Ham. I'm just not sure who you're going to go for on Bournemouth shirt. So, a lot of these things, if you're based on captaincy, you sort of want the best of what you can get for that day. So maybe someone like a Welbeck, either Van Heck or Dunk. Or if you're feeling punting is starting, Pascal Gross is, I'm not going to put anybody off. Put it that way. And then we'll have a quick look at... So next week, we'll be back a week today, Friday Night Live on the 23rd. And we'll be looking ahead to, again, 3 fixture days worth of games. West Ham v Sunderland at early kickoff. Burnley, Tottenham, Fulham, Brighton, Manchester City, Wolves. And then Bournemouth v Liverpool at the tea time. Sunday. This could be one of those messy days on Sky, isn't it? Where they insist on showing that there'll only be 3 games in. How are they going to get 3 games in a quadrant? Lord only knows. Brentford v Nottingham Forest, Palace v Chelsea, and Newcastle v Villa, followed by Arsenal v Manchester United, and then Monday Night Football the following week. And I think we'll be making moves then, so it'll be interesting to see who's coming up. Everton v Leeds on Monday Night Football. Right, and that is it, everybody. Thanks very much for watching. Those that are in the chat, thanks for your comments. If you like what you see on the video, please give it a like. If you want to see and use the transfer planners, then you find those over on Patreon, patreon.com, Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. In the meantime, enjoy the football, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now, everybody. Cheers.